You were formed in sacred silence. Hands of heaven shaped your frame. Breathed alive.
We live in a world that constantly pulls at us. Our attention, energy, and compassion are often stretched to their limits. And in the middle of that tension, many of us, especially those guided by Christian values, wrestle with one critical question. How do I love others well, without losing myself in the process? How do I serve Lord and take care of my responsibilities, bringing honor to God throughout them? And at the same time, without losing myself in the middle of all that. That's where boundaries come in. Hello and welcome to Dignity Talks. My name is Ritva Huusko and I'm psychotherapist from Finland with a deep passion for exploring human well-being through both psychological insight and biblical wisdom. On this channel, we dive into topics that matter: healing, hope, emotional growth, faith, and the dignity of being human. And my goal is to create a space where your heart and your mind, your spirit are all equally welcome. And whether you're curious about how faith and psychology connect, or you're simply seeking encouragement on your journey, you're in the right place. So make yourself at home, and if this sounds like something your soul needs, I warmly invite you to subscribe the channel and join our growing community. It doesn't cost anything. Let's walk this meaningful path together. Let's dive in what are boundaries, really. In psychology, boundaries are defined as the limits we set to protect our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. They clarify what is ours to carry and what is not. And they help us define where we end and where others begin. And contrary to what some may believe, boundaries are not walls. They are doors and fences. They allow healthy connection while keeping out what harms. But here's the beautiful part. This concept is not just psychological. It's also deeply biblical. Jesus modeled boundaries. Jesus, our greatest example of love, have impeccable boundaries. He withdrew often to alone with Father, Luke 5:16, did not give in to every demand placed upon him, John 11. He delayed going to Lazarus, spoke the truth in love, even when it offended, Mark 10, verses 21 and 22. And sometimes he said no, even to good things, even to people he loved. Jesus understood that love without limits is not sustainable, and it's not always loving. And without boundaries, we risk burnout and breakdown. Even the strongest spiritual leaders in the Bible faced serious consequences when they didn't pace themselves or protect their inner life. For example, Moses, Exodus 18. Moses was trying to solve everyone's problems by himself, judging from morning till night, and he was exhausted. His father-in-law, Jethro, wisely told him, "What you are doing is no good. You and all these people who come to you will only wear yourself out." Exodus 18, verses 17 and 18. So Moses learned he needed to delegate and set limits. So the lesson is, without boundaries, even good intentions can lead to exhaustion, and our ability to lead, love, or serve suffers. Without boundaries, we also enable harmful behavior. When we refuse to set boundaries, especially in relationships, we may allow patterns that hurt others and also ourselves. For example, Eli, the priest, 1 Samuel 2 and 3, Eli failed to correct and set firm boundaries with his sons, who were abusing their position as priests. God held Eli accountable, not just his sons. For I told him that I would judge his family forever because of the sin he knew about. His sons blasphemed God, and he failed to restrain them. 1 Samuel 3 verse 13. So lesson is, a lack of boundaries can become complicity. Silence or passivity may allow sin to grow unchecked. And without boundaries, we lose focus on God's calling also. Jesus was crystal clear about his purpose. He didn't allow the crowd's demands or even his discipline's opinions to distract him. When we say yes to everything, we often end up saying no what God actually called us to do. For example, Nehemiah 6 verse 3. When others tried to lure Nehemiah away from rebuilding the wall, he replied, I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. So lesson of this is, without boundaries, we'll be pulled in every direction and miss the great work God has given us. Also, without boundaries, love becomes codependence, not Christ-like care. Paul says in Galatians 6 verse 2 and 6 verse 5, carry each other's burdens, and each one should carry their own load. This is a call to discernment. Some burdens are too heavy to carry alone, and we must step in. But some loads are ours to bear. When we take responsibility for others' choices or emotions, we enter into codependence, not love. As a psychotherapist, I see time and time again the harm that results when people fail to set healthy boundaries. For example, in relationships without clear limits, the dynamic often shifts over time into an unhealthy pattern of emotional dependency. In the beginning, the relationship might feel fulfilling and harmonious, but as time goes on, what started as closeness can turn into emotional entanglement, where one or both partners lose their sense of self, and eventually the sense of well-being erodes and gives way to exhaustion, resentment, and even despair. The same principle applies within families. When children grow up without healthy, loving boundaries, they struggle to develop a solid sense of inner safety and stability. So boundaries, when rooted in love, create structure, predictability, and trust. They tell a child, you are safe, you are seen, you are cared for. On the other hand, boundaries imposed with anger or control often cause damage. Harsh or fear-based limits can lead to emotional wounds, confusion, and rebellion. In these cases, the boundary isn't an act of protection but of domination. That's why the heart behind the boundary matters deeply. Healthy boundaries must come from a place of love and goodwill, not from a desire to control, dominate, or punish. When rooted in love, boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges. They protect relationships, they nurture growth, and most importantly, they honor the dignity of every person involved. So, lesson of this is without boundaries, our help becomes control and our compassion turns into enabling. The Bible teaches that without boundaries we become overwhelmed and ineffective, like Moses did. We enable sin and dysfunction, like Eli. We drift from our purpose, unlike Nehemiah, and we mistake control for love, contrary to Paul's wisdom. So, psychology backs this up. Modern psychology agrees this. Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend work in the book Boundaries explains that people without clear boundaries often experience chronic resentment, burnout, relationship dysfunction, and loss of personal identity. Healthy boundaries, on the other hand, lead to self-respect, clarity in relationships, emotional health, and room for God's calling to emerge without the chaos of constant overextension. But what about sacrifice then? Some might ask, aren't we called to die to ourselves, to serve others sacrificially? Yes, but self-sacrifice in the Christian life is meant to be voluntary and spirit-led, not manipulated or coerced. Boundaries ensure that our sacrifice flows from love, not from guilt, fear, or people-pleasing. They allow us to give freely, not under compulsion. So, what faith and psychology agree then? Where do psychology and Christian faith meet? In dignity. Both affirm that every person, yourself included, has instinct, worth, and deserves respect. In stewardship, you are responsible for your heart, your choice, and your energy. In love, real love includes truth, respect, and freedom, not control, guilt, or self-neglect. So boundaries are brave. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's brave. It's loving. It's Christ-like. As the Apostle Paul wrote in Galatians 6 verse 5, each one should carry their own load. And yet, just a verse before, he also says, carry each other's burdens. What a powerful balance. Boundaries helps us to discern when to help someone with their burden and when to let them carry their load. So today I leave you with this. If you're feeling drained, overextended, or lost in the needs of others, pause. Ask yourself, is this mine to carry? Then in quiet of your heart, listen. God may be inviting you not to do more, but to draw a line, a boundary that protects the dignity He placed in you. If this message spoke to you, if you found hope or healing in it, please subscribe at the channel and share this video with someone who needs this kind of encouragement. That is a very simple way to support this channel, and little by little it helps me to continue creating content that brings faith, psychology and dignity together. Thank you for being part of this journey, and God bless you.